Hi, Sarah.
Morning, Tadao. How are you?
Good, good. I have a question. What is the difference between Sahetka Vipaka Chitta and Ahetka Vipaka Chitta?
Okay. I just check if Ajahn is here. Are you here, Ajahn?
Sawadika.
Sawadika. Sawadika. Yeah. So Tadao has just asked a question about Vipaka Chitta, Sahetuka and Ahetuka. So the Sahetuka Vipaka Chittas are the Vipaka Chittas with roots. So, for example, seeing and hearing now, they're, no matter whether they're kusala or akusala vipaka, they're always without roots, none of the wholesome or unwholesome roots. So they're always ahetuka vipaka chittas. But, for example, the bhavanga chittas in the human realm, they have wholesome roots. So they are, when they're the result of kusala karma, for us, they are sahetuka vipaka chittas. But those bhavanga chittas in the animal realm or the peta realm are, which are the result of our kusala karma, are always ahetuka vipaka chittas. So this is in brief that the vipaka chittas can either be with roots or without roots. When it's a result of our kusala karma, always without roots. When it's a result of kusala karma, it can be sahetuka or ahetuka, depending on the kind of chitta.
Okay.
I just have to pause to turn off the laundry. Just a second, I'll be back in a moment. Daily life. My washing machine was making a noise. So anything else about the Vipaka Chittas, Tadao?
No, it's okay for now. I have a question to Jonathan. Several weeks ago, when I said that seeing is an illusion, then I've got the impression that you didn't agree with my comment, that is, seeing is an illusion. In what sense you do not think that seeing is an illusion?
Thanks, Tadao. What do you mean when you say seeing is illusion?
Because all we see is panyati. In that sense, seeing is a illusion.
What do you mean when you say all we see is panyati?
Because we do not see realities yet. At least I do not see realities or see.
Right. You mean understanding doesn't see realities yet?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So then you talk about, you say seeing is an illusion. So is hearing also an illusion?
Yes.
And tasting and touching and experiencing through the body sense also an illusion?
Yeah.
So what you're referring to is lack of understanding, right?
Yes.
When there's absence of understanding, there can be wrong understanding, or there can be neither understanding nor wrong understanding, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that it's helpful just to say seeing. When we talk about seeing, we mean Jaku Vijnana, right? The eye consciousness.
Yes.
The eye consciousness experiences visible object, as we know.
Yeah.
Right. But it is not understood as it is.
No.
So in that sense, it can be correct to say that seeing is not known for what it truly is, or
Yeah.
visible object is not known for what it truly is.
Yeah.
When there's an idea of people and things as being what is seen, that is the way that the sensed or objects are conceptualized. It's the same when hearing.
Yeah.
One hears a sound and immediately the sound is known as the sound of a person's voice, or if it's words being spoken, the words are understood immediately. And that would also be the situation for the enlightened being. He or she instantly hears and recognizes that it's so-and-so's voice and recognizes the meaning of the words being spoken. But for the enlightened being, of course, it can't be said to be an illusion, can it?
Yeah.
So it's a question of really the underlying understanding one is talking about, rather than the act of seeing or the thinking about what has been seen or heard.
Yeah.
So now there is hearing, in conventional terms, hearing the sound of a voice, someone speaking, and the meaning is understood. Now, whether that's an illusion or not an illusion depends on the level of one's understanding, rather than anything. We can't make a general statement. It's just a question of whether one thinks at that time that the voice is real, the meaning is real, or something like that.
Yeah.
And as I said, there can be right understanding, there can be wrong understanding, or there can be neither right understanding nor wrong understanding about it.
Yeah.
Just if I
So-
may quick, I'm sorry, Jonathan, would you just clarify what you mean by neither right nor wrong? Thank you.
Sure. I said neither right understanding nor wrong understanding. So citta can be with panya, or with ditthi, or with neither panya nor ditthi.
Okay, thanks for that.
If we're talking about the chittas in the javana process, the kusala and akusala chittas that follow the moments of seeing, when the object that's experienced by the eye consciousness is being processed, is being by the javana, by the kusala or akusala chittas that arise in the javana stage of the mind or process. And when there's right view, panya, that has a characteristic by which it can be known. And when there's wrong view, that has a characteristic by which it can be known also. And when there's neither, then it's either kusala or akusala, but without panya and without wrong view. Coming back to Tao, is that, do you agree that's the situation, or
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
feel that there's mostly wrong view in a day, or is that what you're saying, mostly wrong view in a day? Or
No, I do not say it's almost a wrong view, but ignorance is always there.
ignorance is mostly there, yes, but not always apparent, of course.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the main point is to consider that having the concept of a person or a thing is not in itself necessarily wrong view. Because, as I say, for the enlightened being, there is still the concept of immediately of understanding the word spoken without having to recompile the sound that is heard into words and that have meaning. It just happens automatically, instantaneously, just like it is for us at this moment. So we can't use that as a test of whether there is wrong view at the present moment or not.
Tao, can we say that whenever there is the perversion of citta and sanya, citta vipalasa and sanya vipalasa, there is an illusion, there is a fantasy, there is a lack of understanding at those moments. Whenever akusala citta arises, ignorance is there.
yeah,
So at moments of seeing and hearing, because you said seeing is an illusion, but at the moment of seeing or hearing, there's no citta vipalasa, no sanya vipalasa, no ditthi vipalasa, because it is just that moment of seeing, which is vipaka, not akusala. So the illusion is when the akusala cittas arise immediately afterwards, when there's ignorance about the truth or wrong understanding of the truth, depending. Or when there's attachment, for example, taking the object for being beautiful and desirable. But at the moment of seeing, it's just vipaka, just the result.
yeah. As for seeing, seeing a visual object, we have some understanding of what visual object is, though it's mostly conceptualized, at least visual object appears.
But at the moment of seeing itself, because you mentioned about seeing at the beginning as being the illusion, at the moment of seeing, there's no conceptualizing, no idea about it. The seeing just sees what appears, just the object that is experienced. So seeing is the chief in experiencing what is visible. It doesn't know anything about it. It doesn't have ignorance about it. It doesn't conceptualize it, just sees. So that moment of vipaka is not the moment of illusion, not the moment of conceptualizing at all. So it's just the reality that experiences what is visible, no matter whether we're talking about the seeing now or the seeing of what we call the arahat. It's still just seeing, which sees what is visible and gone instantly. And then immediately there's the idea of something there, something lasting, ignorance about it. That is where the fantasy and the illusion and the mirage comes in.
Yeah, the point I'd like to make is that seeing doesn't appear. It's so hard to perceive.
And would one like it to appear? Would one like to be aware of seeing now?
Yes.
So what's the reality now when one would like so much or tries so hard or thinks there should be awareness of seeing now?
Tanha, desire.
And that's the point, because that is what hinders the understanding developing naturally. And behind the desire is the idea of, I would like to know it. I would like to be aware of it, trying to catch the reality. This is the main hindrance to understanding and awareness developing naturally, without expectation, without clinging, without the idea of I doing anything, I trying to catch it, I minding about it. So who knows what reality may appear to be understood, but as soon as there's the idea of selecting an object, trying to be aware of seeing, then no understanding of anything appearing. It's the wrong path.
Yeah.
And that's the main point. So it always comes back to what is now. So if it's the desire now, okay, there can be understanding of desire. It's a reality. So when it's there, it can be known. And it's gone instantly, not my desire.
Jonathan, I really appreciated your follow-up comments to Dao. Not so much comments really, or instructions, but asking really helpful questions of him. I thought that was really good. Instead of squashing or bigfooting, as it sometimes called these days, other people's interpretations, I really appreciated the helpful questions to Dao, because I think, from my perception, you helped him a lot to bring out what his understanding was. And I think sometimes when people make a comment, we can have a lot of prejudgments around those sort of comments. But the way you teased out his assumption, shall we say, I think was a real wonderful model for us all to follow. Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Sundra. The model I follow is Ajahn, and she is wonderful at the way she helps other people to see things as they really are. So I'm very much indebted to Ajahn.
Totally. It kind of reminds me, though, there are 4 ways that the Buddha answered a question. And the first one is giving a yes/no answer, a yes or a no answer, which is 2 of them, and then elaborating on, or just yes/no answer, and then second one is elaborating on that yes/no answer. The third example is counter questioning, which I think you mentioned, Tanajan, of course, illustrates really well, and I think it's such a valuable one when we are developing understanding of the Dhamma, because it helps us to tease out just where we're going with our so-called logic or non-logic. And the last one, of course, was silence, which the Buddha also employed. But that aspect of, I think it's called patibhana, counter-questioning is so valuable. And as you said, Tanajan is an excellent model of that, and she does it so skillfully.
Yes, but I think the main ingredient has to be the concern for the other's welfare, the wishing to be helpful and share what one understands in a way that the other person can understand. So not so much the form in which the discussion proceeds, and I think all of us here, I mean, thinking particularly of not only Ajahn and myself, of course, but Sarah and others, it's a very welcoming medium for Dhamma discussion here, so that's good. And yeah. I know you also try to try to share your understanding with others too.
No, they are all excellent points, Jonathan. Well said.
So back to Tadao. So Tadao, you started off with the question about seeing as illusion. Any comments or any questions or anything you found helpful so far?
All I can say is that it's not an easy task.
The task being what, Tadao?
Seeing the difference between nama and rupa. It takes lots of patience and time.
But I don't think you have any difficulty with understanding at an intellectual level the difference between nama and rupa.
Yeah, no.
No. So then it's a question of what understanding takes and attends to if and when it arises, awareness and understanding. And that is not always an easy thing to know. But again, as we've said before, if the right conditions are there, understanding is developing gradually, little by little, imperceptibly. And we don't need to feel that it's not seeing this or that quite as it should. But we should just have confidence that the right conditions are in place when there is the opportunity to hear the true Dhamma and to join in a discussion about the true Dhamma. That is, and then there is automatically the reflecting upon what has been heard. So there can be confidence that understanding is developing over time.
Yeah.
And the same point as before, is it anyone who can undertake the task or perform the task?
No, nobody.
Right. So that's the main point. So Panya has to develop gradually through considering, reflecting, gradual understanding, the opposite of trying to select an object or trying to be aware of seeing, as you mentioned before. So the main point is the understanding that whatever appears, no matter it's citta, the chief in experiencing, or mental factor, or the reality that doesn't experience anything, the rupa, each one is conditioned, not in anyone's control. No one can choose what object to be aware or perform any task at all.
I said, to be honest, it's only very recently that I've started seeing that everything is anatta, nothing but anatta. Now I'm very much convinced that everything is anatta. Nobody, no Tadao, and no being, no beings. And
I know, yes, I know before you used to find it disturbing or irritating to be told that what arises now is conditioned and not in anyone's control or anatta. But now I know you appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. So the Zoom discussions have been helping me a lot. I could see that we have to see anatta. It's sort of the most important thing in our life.
And without any understanding of the reality which appears now, can there be any understanding of anatta?
No.
No. So that's why it has to come back to what appears now, not seeing if it doesn't appear now, but if there's clinging now, then that is what can be known as anatta now. because no one chooses to have clinging, but it arises and then it's gone. Each one is anatta.
Yeah, yes.
And I appreciate your questions, Tadao, because I think you echo all of us really to a lesser or greater degree. And because our default position, if you like, is mostly ignorance, we're inclined to want to push a certain self in there, or atasanya, or some other aspects of self into the equation, and we do that so often. So I really appreciate your questions and the answers that were forthcoming, because that enables us all to get a better appreciation of Dhamma.
Yeah, we have our default mode of seeing the world with self, that we have to abandon such a default mode of seeing the world.
True.
And again, it's not we who can drop the default mode or change it or do anything. It's only Anya that develops that gradually through that understanding, lets go of that default mode, that clinging with wrong understanding.
Yeah, so this kind of discussion is so powerful, very useful.
Thanks to Dao. Perhaps Ajahn would like to add some comments, or anyone else may like to bring up any topic.
Now, there are so many different moments of experiencing different objects, but without the word of truth about them, can there be a little more understanding the truth of it, which is deeper and deeper? That's why, like when Jonathan read the sutta, we can follow it so beautiful to understand better and better. Otherwise, we have just our own idea, own word about the truth. But what about the words that Buddha taught for 45 years? Each word just about what is there in any moment in life, any life. It's always the truth of what is there in the moment to moment to moment. But without understanding enough, it's just very limited to understand the truth. Like seeing, they're seeing right now, and then what? But the words of the truth taught by the Buddha is so beautiful, according to no matter it is Sutta or Vinaya or Abhidhamma. No doubt about Dhamma, it is Abhidhamma. So very subtle. But who can penetrate the subtlety of what is there now as it is? Only the word of the teaching in the Sutta and Vinaya and Abhidhamma can condition a little more understanding. Because no matter we read, no matter we heard, it's just there at the very moment and then gone. It depends on understanding about the truth is accumulated. Otherwise, it's just remembering of the word, but not the understanding of the truth, which is, as what is said, so very deep. For example, seeing right now, the reality from birth, arising, experiencing an object, and then gone. Whether the object is known or not known, that is such reality without understanding it as just a reality. Experiences an object, it can be the reminder to understand the reality which experiences an object is right now. Anytime, any moment, what appears is there. Otherwise, it's forgotten. That's why even it's so close, it's always forgotten until we read more about it, about all kinds of dhammas, no matter it is kindness, compassion, anger, ego, and whatever is there, to understand a little better that it's not far away at all. It's daily life to be known, to be studied. That's why without hearing and reading, considering the truth of what Buddha said, there could not be further, firmer understanding of what is there as it is. That's why begin to understand how subtle it is, what is seeing, what is hearing, the reality which experiences now. Whatever object is there, it's there, experiencing the object. That is not enough. What is there as ayatana? Without seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, how can it condition more thought about, thinking about it, to do this and that, to create this and that, only from seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. And this is life. No matter how far it goes to by way of such and such subject, or what we study, all about whatever comes from seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking. Keep on continuing from moment to moment, from life to life, as long as ignorance is still there. It's the world of illusion. That's why without understanding, can it not be illusion? Can there be understanding that actually it's true only when it's there and then gone? So what is the use of experiencing what is there in a day all the time without any understanding, just with pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling, and take it for some very important events and situations, but in truth, no more. That's why it's so important to begin to understand what is there right now in daily life as it is appearing by conditions. Otherwise, it's just the idea is usual, it's senseless, why just arise and falls away. But it has to be moment when it's there, arising and falling away. So very familiar for whatever is there, just appearing and then no more. That's all in life, in samsara. But it's not just only the idea. It has to be getting closer to understand each different one. In order to understand that what arises and what falls away and what is next and what is there in between, to understand what we have heard a little more at moment when it's there. That's why with firm confidence of life, no one dead or life is that which arises and experiences the object by conditions. The firm confidence of the truth will condition a moment of just attend to that which is hard, which hasn't been attended before. It's now, and it can be right now. Attend to hardness or to whatever is there. And that which experiences it, without that, hardness cannot appear at all, anytime. That's why when we read about the words in the teaching, there can be more condition to understand, conditions for whatever arises to be different. Ignorance and right understanding is quite different. That's why Greek Sutta talk about Sutta or Abhidhamma or Vinaya can lead to understanding the truth more and more and more. And the understanding, which is firmer and firmer, will condition moment of understand what is there now, little by little, one by one with awareness, but it has to be a moment of just attending to that characteristic and with right understanding that it's that which has to be realized because it's gone, but no understanding of that very moment yet. That's why hearing more and more, talking about more and more, can be conditioned to let go, to take it for self at moment when it's there, depending at how much understanding from hearing, considering, condition such moment. So it's so very gradually developed, little by little, and right understanding doesn't mind at all. Otherwise, it feels like it's so very little. Very little. How can it be more? And try so hard. That is no understanding of what is there as it is. That's why we learn about the truth of each moment to understand the difference between each reality as it is. Otherwise, they are there together. And how can just one be known? Only at that very moment, from moment to moment, closer and closer, a little clearer and clearer, until it can appear to the developed panya from moment of being aware with understanding or just attend to it and then understand it by conditions. Right now, just a moment of being aware with right understanding, it can condition a little more understanding very gradually. No doubt about what is there, different from moment when there's no understanding. Quite different. How can it be the same? Because now it's the world of illusion, no understanding of the truth. But the understanding that it is illusion can condition the attention and an interest to understand more and more, sharper and sharper, because it, without understanding, gradually from moment of hearing, can it condition moment, not by thinking that I should know this first and then that, but they work themselves. All realities arising and perform their function instantly and then gone. And it's now, it's there, patient, because it's there to be known without patience, without hearing, considering, on and on, little by little, patiently on the object which appears. How can right understanding develop deeper and deeper, higher and higher, stronger and stronger, sharper and sharper, little by little? That's why understanding that without satya, to be truthful to the truth of the way it is, with patience, kanti, with virya, parami, with confidence, firm confidence of the truth. How can it condition moment of understanding a little more of this moment of seeing, of that which is experiencing, no shape, no form at all, different from that which appears, only that which can be seen, visible object, that's all. This is the way to understand the subtlety of what is there right now.
Ajahn, just now you were referring to Satya Parami, Adhitthana Parami, and so on, which we often hear about. And when talking about Adhitthana, we talk about confidence and how it has to develop with understanding. As Anne's here, just picking up a comment that she made 2 or 3 weeks ago about Chaga Adhitthana, and there was reference made to the 4 Adhitthanas. I think Jonathan mentioned them. So these are Satya Adhitthana, Chaga Adhitthana, Upasama Adhitthana, and Panya Adhitthana. And in this context, they're referred to usually as the 4 Adhitthanas, the four foundations which have to be there in order for the path to develop. Panya, there has to be the understanding of the truth, the understanding of realities. And Satya Adhitthana refers to not just the truthfulness, we're not telling lies, but the truthfulness with regard to the realities to be known, to be understood. And the Chaga isn't just giving up possessions, but it's giving up the idea of self that Tadao was referring to, giving up of all kilesa. And Upasama is the calm, the freedom from defilements, which develops with understanding until it's the final calm. And I'm just wondering what the connection is between Adhitthana in this context, referring to the foundations, and Adhitthana Parami as confidence, because we wouldn't refer to these as 4 kinds of determination or confidence. Is it a completely different meaning, or is there a connection?
So, what is confident? Confident of what?
Confident of what is true, what is
That's it.
right now.
That's right. Confident to the truth of reality, as Buddha taught about it, because he realized the truth, the whole
Right.
truth, the ultimate truth of what is there. That's why they go together. For example, without right understanding, can there be confidence of what is there as not self?
No, and there cannot be confidence of truthfulness. There cannot be the giving up of self or
That
giving
moment,
up of anything.
yeah. And that moment, it is such a barami, so firm. And the dana is so firm of the truth that keep on going, developing with patience and virya now to understand the truth, which is there, but it's so very subtle, very deep, the arising and falling of each one in succession. But they do not appear as they are one by one. They appear together like the whole world. I, Kun Sarah, Kun Sunatan, Kun Nina, Kun Sundra, and so on. But in truth, different realities arising and falling away from moment to moment condition, the nimitta to be known as panjati, what is it? That's why the firm confidence of the truth. What are there in life? There must be the chief, the reality which arises and experiences an object. Otherwise, there cannot be anything at all appearing without that which arises to experience only, to be the chief of experience, what is there. And the other mental factors arising together, performing a function, each one as it is. That's why learn to understand what is there and what appears. Even citta is there now, experiencing the visible object. But what is seen and known is visible object, which is taken for something because of the nimitta of the succession of moment of seeing, while there are other moments of reality in between unknown. That's why the world appears only through 6 doorways, 1 doorway at a time. See, but so very rapidly arising and falling away. What appears is the mirage or illusion, but right understanding only can understand that. Asking anyone who doesn't have any understanding of the truth at all, they don't understand even what we are talking about. They would say it's so difficult. But if they listen carefully, we are talking about just what is there now in every moment, in the truth, to have understanding of the truth. And understanding is there, a reality, no one there at all. That's why the understanding of the illusion and mirage get closer and clearer and deeper, many layers on and on and on. That's why when we talk about one reality like parami, they go together depending on what is there. For example, jhaka or giving away dana. See, without understanding, can it be parami to understand the truth of what is there now? But understanding that akusala cannot condition any understanding of the truth at all because of ignorance, not understanding what is there. So there is a moment clinging to that for be someone or I, cling to whatever is there for I from me all the time. There can never be moment of dana at all when they're at that moment clinging to that very object. But at moment of other reality, mental factor, aloha is there. That's why life goes on by conditions. And with understanding of the benefit, the more precious moment in samsara, that it can understand the truth of what is there, which is so very deep. It conditions more and more interest and truthfulness to the truth. Never go wrong. When there is this attachment, right understanding can understand. Whatever is there can be understood as it is, little by little, naturally. It doesn't mean that how much accumulation of understanding, whether it enough to understand this moment or not. But moment of no understanding is there. But why it's there? Because hearing, considering, understanding that if there's no understanding of the object, which is even just hardness, it cannot let go the idea of self at all. As long as it is ignorance of whatever appears, it cannot understand the truth. That's why hearing, considering more and more, condition the confidence of the truth as parami, with Satya Barami, Viriya Barami, Kanti Barami, Nikama Barami, Metta Barami, and so on.
So, John, when we read about Satya Adhitana or Chaga Adhitana, it's just referring to Chaga with confidence, with Adhitana and Panya, of course. Otherwise, there couldn't be the relinquishing of defilements. So the Adhitana still means confidence, because usually it's translated as foundations, but it's referring to confidence as the foundation that develops with Panya and Satya and Chaga and peace and so on. So actually it's referring to the paramis as well.
That's why the understanding is beyond the word. Because how can there be any word that can represent that very moment, the degree of understanding of whatever. That's why there's not in any language to use any word to fit the reality at such and such moment. That's why only understanding can understand different words and different level of meaning. And whether that is right or wrong, because of not understanding the truth. So the word cannot give right meaning of the reality at all, only when it's there.
And we can appreciate that, like getting back to Dao's point, the more understanding, the more relinquishing of the wrong idea of self, and the more confidence and truthfulness there is. So we can appreciate the points, no matter what the words used are.
That's why with understanding, we hear or listen to the sutta with joy. So great, so beautiful truth, deeper and deeper to the real nature of the realities, different degrees, different levels. Very light and very strong. For example, Asavasi, at moment of understanding, kilesa is less, all kinds together, little by little. But it doesn't appear at all.
No.
That is
The word. Yeah. I was going to say, or the word upasama, like in upasama adhitthana, people talk about calm or peace, but they have no idea what calm or peace is. They don't realize it is the calm from defilements, the calm from clinging for a moment. And it's only with the development of understanding that true calm can be developed, with the understanding of the truth, the higher calm. And that's why it's only with understanding that words like asava or chaga or upasama or any of these words can be understood, not by just learning the terms or the details that we've read about. Not as a scholar, but through understanding. Anne's nodding her head. Any comments, Anne, so far? Because I remember you brought up about chaga and chagaditthana before. I can't hear you, Anne. Still not hearing you, Anne.
Got it. I think I see more and more how adhitthana, which is usually often translated as determination, it's determination because of confidence. The determination comes from the confidence in the truth. And what we're learning, therefore, I'm thinking it probably arises with panya and satya. Yeah.
When talking about the paramis, it has to be with panya and satya.
Satya.
And resolution is another word that's used, but it's the same. It's only through developing the confidence with understanding that there is the appreciation of what is precious or what is resolved to be important in life.
And without panya, it wouldn't happen.
Without panya, it's just determining something or resolving something or just having faith in the Buddha, but nothing to do with the development of adhitthana or truthfulness.
Right. Yes, thank you. It's good to go over that again.
I have a question. I do not understand Panya as Panya and Panya as Parami. I do not understand the meaning of Panya Parami. Is it a very special type of Panya or not? It's my question.
I think that we can talk about two kinds of panya, two kinds of development, two kinds of bhavana. So in the development of calm, samatha bhavana, panya develops as well, letting go of akusala, but without the understanding that these are dhammas. So it's not panya parami, even though the panya develops to a very high degree, to the degree of jhana, but it's not parami. So only when it's the development of panya in vipassana bhavana, when it's the understanding of the truth of reality, can it be the parami, panya parami that develops. So even though now there may not be much calm or much confidence, but if it's the beginning of understanding the truth about reality, it is the beginning of developing panya parami, or the precursor to development of the parami, because it's the beginning of developing the way that leads to the development of the path, the Eightfold Path. But if it is samatha bhavana, however great it is, however great the calmness, it cannot be parami if there's no understanding of the reality as not self. It's still my calm, my great kusala.
Yeah, as far as I understand, Panya is the most important parami among the 10 paramis. In what sense Panya is the most important element in the 10 paramis?
It's the leader, like the sun arising in my picture at it's without the panya, the other paramis cannot develop. It's the precursor for the development of all paramis, but it has to have the support of all the other paramis. They have to develop together. But panya is the leader in the development of the path.
Okay. But in that sutta, yeah, Panya is very much like a dawn
Right.
in the morning. But that is samadhi. But
Yes.
is the samadhi same as Panya or not?
Exactly the same. Samadhi is panya cetasika, and particularly referring to panya cetasika when it is the path, the first factor of the path factors, the leader of the path factors, supported by the other path factors. So when we are talking about the development of panya parami, actually it is the development of samadhi.
Okay. Thank you.
So now, if we're talking about pariyatti understanding, it has to be the pariyatti understanding to develop to be panya, that is satipatthana, that is samadhi of the path.
Okay.
Panya is like the dawn.
Okay, thank you.
I found myself thinking frequently about conceit, particularly subtle conceit that it's almost like if you've not even heard it discussed, you're likely to miss it. I'm talking about things like having opinions of things during the day, not necessarily heavy, weighty opinions, but just, well, I think this, la la. Can you talk a bit more about subtle conceit?
Are you asking Ajahn?
Oh, John, if you were there and would like to answer, Sarah or Jonathan, if depending.
John, we can't hear you. I'll just make a short comment as you haven't yet turned on your microphone. And I'd like to say that I think conceit is one of these unwholesome mental factors that is
For sure.
very prevalent. And as you say, it has a subtle form and is not apparent. But I don't think we need to, on the whole, I don't think we need to look for the more subtle forms of the unwholesome tendencies, because after all, the task is the development of understanding of what appears.
Mm-hmm.
And when conceit appears, which may be when it's of not in its subtle form, shall we say, then it may be the object of awareness and understanding. But I'm not sure I see the value in trying to identify more subtle levels of unwholesome mental factors. Of course, it's good to reflect upon the fact and to appreciate that there's a lot more unwholesomeness than we appreciate in our daily life. And when various mental factors like this one come up, one can reflect upon how they are obviously, it becomes apparent that they're more prevalent than we give credit for.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, I think in due course, the subtle forms will become more apparent because of the development of understanding.
Yes, I see what you're saying, Jonathan. I think the part about reflection is important. If you wouldn't go out looking for it any more than you could try to not have
any more
it.
than we can identify attachment. We are told there's attachment
Right.
with the seeing now, for example, but it's not something we have to try and pick up on, because there's plenty of other realities that are appearing already and are likely to be the object of awareness and understanding. And again, there can be an unconscious bias towards the idea of having less agusala as being the way forward, or identifying the more subtle kinds of agusala as somehow being a condition for there to be less of that kind of agusala going forward. But I'm not sure that's...
I think
it doesn't follow. Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think you're right. There can be more and more, I don't know whether I'd even go so far as to say identification of, but more and more understanding of what a kusala is. Some akusala is, I'm not talking about at the level of understanding directly, but generally thinking some akusala is, I don't even want to use the word identify, is
becomes apparent.
Well, let's go to the very gross ones, still killing, stealing, that kind of thing. And yet there's so, and as you say, eventually you understanding will know that there are very, very subtle levels, and attachment is the big one, even at the level of an asava, which is not apparent. But even knowing that there is attachment as an asava, not that doesn't appear, but that it arises. It arises a moment after seeing. There's the asava, and even though we know we aren't going to know it directly until understanding is very advanced. And as an asava, we're not going to know it directly anyway. But the more we know about the strength of attachment and the prevalence of it, I think, how do I put this? It's easier to, well, there's a realization that it's very, very strong, and it arises naturally, and there's certainly nothing you can do about it if you don't, until it does appear, and there is awareness of it. And yet, for instance, I found knowing about the asavas to be very, very helpful, in the sense of knowing that there is a depth of attachment that is almost unimaginable, and that it is occurring moment after moment after moment of seeing, hearing, thinking, whatever. So I agree, Jonathan. You're not going to be able to go out and pick it out and identify it and try to avoid a conceit, for instance. Take that for an example. But I guess I've found it useful to know just how subtle it can be, even though I don't know or understand that now.
It obviously has an influence
Mm-hmm.
in one's perception of the world, actually.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yes.
Right.
My world.
And
yeah.
I mean, people are different, but for me, I have long been aware in the conventional sense of the word that there's a lot of conceit at subtle levels going on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way it is. For others, it may be different. I don't know. There may be.
No, I think that's right. And as you say, I guess there is some question as to whether it's useful to know. I can't remember exactly what some of the examples we've talked about in the past, but it was surprising to first hear it, and yet it can give me an appreciation of the depth of it. And
I think when one has had that introduction, as it were, to it, then it does become more apparent in one's life. True. But again, that's just the way it is. It can't be dealt with in any way just because it's more apparent.
No, it can. But I think being more apparent, as you say, it can influence subtly. I can't make it influence, but
one example Jan gave before was when someone asked for subtle examples. Are you and Marshall? Is it?
No.
Oh, not me. Yes.
No.
So Mana can come in so quickly, and like the example you gave,
there's no
straight away, looking in the mirror. Yes. And the example you gave when you hear other people give their opinions or make their comments, and Mana can come in instantly. Comparing. Behind it is the idea, what about me? Behind it.
Yes, that's
You hear
true.
the opinion,
I think
what about my idea? Yes. So Mana
what it
straight
can
away.
do maybe is certainly cuts off. If there's enough understanding to understand that, oh yeah, that, I can see that. It certainly cuts off any thoughts of, gee, there's not much conceit.
And I was thinking, I agree with everything that's been said so far. I mean, the first thing I think was it's a valuable aspect, I feel, of pariyatti, intellectually, to know a little bit about it. That can be a pointer to deeper understanding. Of course, it doesn't have to be, because we know, as has been alluded to this morning, but just knowing about mana, which incidentally means to measure. That's the root of the word. It means to measure. So we're measuring, that we're as good as somebody, or we're less than, or we're better than, or all the different variables in between those faces of mana. And I think, as Jonathan alluded to, it's very, 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 very common. In a day, it's prolific, as is attachment. And to know about that is valuable. To know about that can be conditioned for a little bit more letting go and a little bit more understanding, but it doesn't have to be. It's only by what we're doing this morning, continually considering what we hear, that can lead to more and more detachment and less mana, because in a way, that's what the whole of the teachings are aimed at, is undermining this concept of I'm better than, or I'm less than, or whatever. It doesn't match up with Dhamma. It doesn't tally with how Dhamma truly is. But because of ignorance, we're very forgetful of that, and we go into that default mode of attachment and varying levels of mana, or measuring. That's the nature of ignorance, unfortunately. But to know about it is helpful. That's the valuable thing, and then understanding can work its way very gradually. But it's a slow process, as Tadao has alluded to. We have to be very, very patient, and ultimately very honest and very truthful. We can't hide behind a kusala. We have to develop the understanding that slowly eliminates that kind of perverse view, that vipallasa that we will have at those different levels. It's continual. It's very perverse in a way, even though we know mana is not a vipallasa, strictly speaking. It is involved in that whole dynamic. If there weren't the vipallasas, then there wouldn't be mana. But we keep on having it because there are the conditions for it, essentially.
Yes, thank you. I find it interesting that the Pali term, mana is to measure. It kind of captures it, doesn't it?
Yes, so often, so much. We do it, yeah. Ignorance is very insidious sometimes, and very self-righteous. And I think we can all know about that at any level, when we become more honest about a kusala. But it's a slow process, and patience. Yeah, patience, and engaging in these dialogues, and considering more carefully the nature of Dhamma. Then there can be conditions for less of it.
Yes.
Whenever there's finding oneself important in any way, however slightly, like, is it Anne? Seems there's a hint, finding oneself important, no comparing, but behind it, it's I who am important.
Yes.
It's the banner of me at those moments.
Yes.
So quickly.
Is there no mana in a daily life?
Oh, there's lots.
What about moment when someone say, your teeth is so very beautiful, or your hair, or your fingernail?
Mana, the person is I don't know. There's a sense in which it could be making a comparison.
Because clinging to the object as mine, I feel and I like it and so on. But at
Mm.
moment when someone say, or even no one say, but you know that the hair is today beautiful, or the nail and so on, or whatever, who's that? What kind of reality is that? My,
Yeah.
see, is it not mana? Different
I
from
think the
moment
answer is yes, but
of-
I'm sorry, John, I didn't hear the last thing you said.
it's different from a moment of taking it for I, like I feel, I like. See, that is I by way of wrong understanding.
Mhm.
But your hair or my hair today is very good, or I have some extraordinary, beautiful thing. It can be the watch or the ring or whatever at that very moment. What is that? Me or mine?
Person who says it, you mean?
And I think you slightly misunderstood what Ajahn said at the beginning when she said, if someone says to you, your hair is so
Okay.
beautiful, it's not referring to the speaker, but one's own
To the person who's
response when
receiving the
hearing
compliment.
it. Yeah. So if one
Okay.
is heard, one's hair looks nice or one's dress looks nice, how does one feel inside? What is one's reaction at those moments?
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
One is usually
Mana.
quite pleased with it.
Or even if no one says it, but one's thinking about, oh, my dress looks nice today, then these are the examples.
Mhm. Thank you. I'm just a little bit of an aside. I'm thinking once I heard Tadao in a discussion, you referred to getting up in the morning, looking at the mirror and going, oh, you look nice today, Tadao. It's that same thought.
Oh, this is a pretty good lunch I've cooked. Yes.
Gee, yes. Yes, that's mana for sure.
I think too, and that, you know, as Jan has alluded to, it's quite insidious sometimes, and I don't think we have to go looking for that, as what Jonathan said. And also, we can see that it's only eradicated when you become arahata.
Mm-hmm.
So it's lurking there, you know, a lot of the time, or much of the time, perhaps, yeah, a lot more than much of the time.
A lot more than we appreciate.
Yeah, that's right. It's yeah, much more than we can imagine sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the example that Ajahn gave and Sarah elaborated on points to that. You know, that
Yes.
intellectually we can begin to grasp that. But you think, oh yeah, that's right, and we can see, oh, there's a lot more. It's a lot more prevalent than even we thought it was before, and which, you know, highlights how how much of it there is, and that can be a valuable goad, you know. And I like what you said earlier on about determination. Where, you know, it's not so much the word as Ajahn spoke about this morning that's the important thing. It'll always be the understanding. It's not the word. And sometimes the word, though, can be helpful, a helpful pointer for the wise to grasp what has been spoken about. You know, the word is crucial. If you don't have language, you can't. That's what the Dhamma is Pariyatti is about. But we know that it can be misunderstood. That's why we have to continually come back to kind of reevaluate, if you like, what we have thus far learned. And we can get feedback from others to begin to see that, like Ajahn, in many ways, then just highlighted that there are other aspects to this that are not always considered. And that's another helpful aspect of pariyatti. Again, it doesn't ultimately depend upon just hearing it has to be considered carefully, so that there can be more careful consideration of Dhamma, which which is foundational to better understanding. But it's a gradual process, and we have the tendency to want to hurry it along, and that's the nature of ignorance. That's understandable too. So that can condition more patience about the nature of Dhamma, that it is difficult, and I can't change it by pushing it along. That's sort of contradicts the nature of Dhamma, and it's quite perverse to think like that, and that's what our friends remind us about. We can't push it. It has to be gradual, slow realization of the different Dhammas that appear as they are, and we can gradually have more confidence in that. That takes time.
Yeah, thanks
Yes.
for those comments, Sundara. I noticed that time is running on. I think maybe it'd be good to invite Ajahn to make some comments before we
Yes,
close.
that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. Ajahn, would you like to speak, please? Thank you.
Yeah, we learn more about the tragedy of Dhamma. That is the understanding, getting closer to understand the truth. No expectation for any moment will be directly aware with understanding of what is there as now, but by conditions. A little more understanding of the truth in daily life, because Dhammas are there in life all the time. Life without that reality which experiences the object, it cannot be any life at all. That's why the most important, the chief of experiencing is the reality that experience what is there. The source of all kinds of thought about such and such, about the world, only by six surveys. And when there is the understanding of the source of what goes on in the world from day to day, there can be the understanding of the truth of each one, that it's by that which is now experiencing an object. Learn to understand the truth that there can be many different stages and degrees of understanding. So now, firm confidence of the truth that what is there now can be realized, because before it's arising, it's not there. And after it's there, it's gone. The other reality appears. From this moment, it can condition moment of understanding the difference between this moment, seeing, and the moment, thinking, and the moment, hearing, and on, and learn more about moment to moment by the teachings of the Buddha. Condition that letting go, the idea of I'll do or I can do, even moment of thinking to do, it's there already by conditions. The idea, the thought, which thinks at every moment, a reality. That's all. Learn to understand the truth that if there's no understanding of any characteristic of a reality right now, it's only the idea about the truth, but it's not the moment of getting closer to understand it as we have learned, like it experiences now. See, or what appears, it's there, a reality which experiences. It can let go attention to the object which is experienced a little bit and have the idea of that which experiences instead of that which appears. That's all. Any word of the truth from the Buddha condition a little more understanding and letting go, clinging and ignorance gradually, so very gradually, comparing to the accumulation of ignorance and attachment and all kinds of akusala, like the unknown mana in daily life and so on, little by little, until all gone. That's why comparing to a glass of water and we put just a drop of color, very pale, but it's that changed and it has to be taken out completely, no more. And that is the end of wrong view, the first stage of enlightenment. And this is parami for sure, passion parami, nekama parami, satya parami, adidana parami. And right understanding keep on hearing again, considering again, by conditions. Until then, moment of beginning to be aware of a reality right now by conditions, any moment. I appreciate the questions and the answers very much. It's my great joy to hear about the truth from anyone. And I appreciate the understanding of the subtlety of reality, that it cannot be known or realized at will. All depends on how much understanding of what is there now, as we have learned about the truth of it. No matter it's moment of joy, moment of pain, moment of surprise, whatever, all by conditions and gone instantly. No clinging to the past or the future, because the past is gone and the future hasn't come yet. What about now? Very short, and now so short. Is that condition letting go a little bit?
So very helpful to always come back to this moment, and what's gone is of no consequence. It's all gone. The ignorance, the clinging, or the mana, all gone completely. So always coming back to right now, the only moment that ever is, and it's gone again and again. So thank you very much, Ajahn, and we'll see you and everyone next week.
Yeah.